Good evening, SEC Nation, and welcome to SEC Live from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and our special guest of the show, Samuel Recker from College Football with Sam, as we'll be going over the impact of Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss to LSU. What's the path for Texas Vanderbilt in the CFP? We grade each of the coaching hires for the SEC, and we go over a little bit of the preview of the SEC title. And let me tell you something, folks. You're going to be in for a wild ride. How you doing tonight, good buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Just got done with a pretty big show where I actually talked about a lot of the SEC coaching hires and also previewed the SEC championship game. So thank you very much for having me on. It's going to be a blast.
Oh, it's absolutely going to be a blast, good buddy. It is absolutely going to be a blast. And of course, we'll go ahead and start it off with the coaching carousel in SEC. And I'm going to be honest, how would you grade each of these hires? Lane Kiffin to LSU, John Summerall to Florida, Alex Golesh to Auburn, Ryan Silverfield to Arkansas, Pete Golding to Ole Miss, and today's hire, Will Stein from Oregon to Kentucky.
Oh, wow. I would say Golesh is an A, and I'd say he's the best hire. I'm going to call Kiffin a B+.
Oh, man.
I'm going to say that Summerall is a... Well, no, actually, Kiffin is an A-, but he's a straight 90. He's not anything above a 90. So he's like bordering on B+, but A-. I would say that Summerall is a B, could be B-, but I'll go with B. Silverfield is an F. That's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Stein, it may not work, but I'm going to grade that an A. Like A for effort. I don't know if Kentucky will work because it's hard to win at Kentucky with the new schedule, but Stein's a great mind and a good football coach and a tactical genius. So I think that's at least a good attempt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Will Stein has made a lot of magic at Oregon, and it doesn't surprise me that he was hired by an SEC team such as Kentucky. And I'll be honest, I actually thought Stoops was going to have that vote of confidence for 2026. And I couldn't help but wonder who is Kentucky going to get, but then it's, you got Will Stein. Problem solved.
I kind of thought they were bringing him back too. It was so weird that, but you know what it is? It's the same thing with Michigan State and Fitzgerald. They were making moves behind the scenes. That's why all of this happened so quickly. They probably reached out to Stein first and said, would you be interested? Or they got Stoops' blessing to fire him at the end of the year and like a while ago. And that's why they also had the negotiated buyout where instead of it all being due within 30 days, they can now pay it out over a few years. So some conversation behind the scenes happened to where you could get that alignment, and good for Kentucky to do that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Kentucky football. Because, I mean, I know that it's not going to be like where Bear Bryant had them in the 1940s, early 50s, but or how Mark Stoops was having them over these last several years. But I wonder if Stein could have them better than where Stoops had them, or will it be about the same? That's going to be the question I can't help but wonder, though.
Does he need to have them as good as Stoops at his peak, or does he just need to be better than Stoops was the past 2 years?
Like way better than the past 2 years.
Then I don't know about way better, but better I think is tenable. I mean, 6-6, and well, you do have to play Louisville every year, and it's going to be a pain in the butt with Brom. But 6-6 and 3-6, or 6-6 and 4-5, and maybe sometimes you get that 7th win. That's pretty successful, I would say, right?
Oh yeah.
Kentucky standards.
Oh yeah. I mean, they like 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's cool. We're taking it back. We're taking it back. That was South Parts, and it's gonna be boys college footballs. Oh man. But yeah, as for these other coaching hires, I mean Pete Golding for Ole Miss.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because again, it was just seamless. Like within a day of Kiffin being announced, oh, we're gonna promote Pete Golding to be the full. We're gonna promote Pete Golding to be the full time guy. Like I found that to be pretty interesting.
Oh man, like that's gonna be an interesting one. I hope he succeeds at Ole Miss, but it'll be wild. It'll be a wild ride seeing what goes on. Like especially when it's next year's edition of Ole Miss LSU for the Magnolia Bowl, whenever that's going to be played. But we'll know more a week or so from now over when that 2026 matchup will occur. But that's going to be wild.
That is going to be wild. Do you think that Golding can do what Marcus Freeman did? Like not exactly, but do you think that he can somewhat provide maybe the same level of what Kiffin did, or at least get close?
Hmm. That's a good question. Like, I would love to see that happen.
That'd be a pretty good story in college football. That's for sure. Will it happen? I think a good start would be he retains much of the roster, like brings back Trinidad Chambliss, hires a good offensive coordinator.
Ooh, that'd be a good one. Yeah, because I mean, like, it was a shame Wise Jr. left for LSU to go be with Kiffin, but the way I look at it, it's Wise Jr.'s loss, not Ole Miss. Because and this is a comparison that I used yesterday with Andrew Miller and Tucker Harlan. So you know, like how the Joker kind of treats Harley Quinn like crap.
Yeah.
Well, I talked about how Lane Kiffin is basically the Joker of the SEC. Ole Miss was basically the Harley Quinn of the SEC, basically just sick and tired of the way they were treated by him. But it's going to take me a minute to figure out who the Poison Ivy of the SEC is.
Yeah. Oh man. I I I kind of get Lincoln Riley vibes from the decision Kiffin's making. I know that what Kiffin is doing is pretty obvious. It's not like people thought he would go to either LSU or Florida the like minute those jobs opened up. But the way he's going about it and the ultimatums to players and staffers and the way he's leaving, it just it feels, I don't know, just it feels like there's something not, it's not just wrong, like actually wrong, but from purely the football standpoint of it, it does kind of feel like there, I don't know, might be something like off with that.
Such a disaster. Just a complete disaster. I'm gonna tell you, I feel like there's karma coming for Kiffin. Like I tell you, like this feels kind of like Jimbo to Texas A&M the way he left Florida State, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's gonna bring us a natty. He's gonna bring us a natty." He didn't even bring you a division title.
It's yeah, yeah. It does kind of feel that way. Although unlike Jimbo Fisher, like he's not leaving Ole Miss with like a heap of dung. And unlike Lincoln Riley, I don't think Riley was like, Riley didn't seem like a pretty open scumbag when
Yeah,
he left.
yeah. And even though I'm right there with you, I'll give it like an A minus for LSU. And you know, one group of people you can't really blame. I mean, you can't blame the players and you certainly can't blame the coach and the fans. You can't blame the fans because like they didn't know all this gonna happen. But I think they're gonna find out what it's like, what Ole Miss went through and what Tennessee went through with Lane Kiffin, and to a certain extent, what Alabama was going through when Lane Kiffin was like, "Oh, well, I still want to stay for the national title," and it's like, "No, you're out. Bye bye. You want to go to Florida Atlantic? Go to Florida Atlantic." I, I'm just like, it is just a mess for Ole Miss, and I'm glad they're not having to deal with it anymore. I'll give Golding a B minus for now, but I hope he can have that same success that Marcus Freeman had with Notre Dame. Maybe take Ole Miss to better heights to where Lane Kiffin had them. Who knows? That would be neat.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. I certainly think that Golding will prioritize high school recruiting more, which is more sustainable. A and B is going to be more be that's what the model has always been, but that's waned a little bit when the portal initially opened up. Now that it's easier to retain your key players, even if you're not a top end school, I think we're going to kind of come back to that a little bit. And you're seeing that now with it, everyone now is signing like classes of 30 if they can, instead of low 20s or mid 20s.
Yeah, because I was on with Mountaineer Paul on Lopdale, West Virginia earlier today, and we talked a little bit about West Virginia getting 34 guys in the recruiting class. Like, that's just nuts. And Georgia's a little closer to that number. But as for the rest of the coaches, Golish, I'll go ahead and give Auburn an A for that one. But my advice to Auburn is do not get in Alex Golish's way. Let him cook. Let him cook. Because if you don't, you're going to have a bad ending like you did with your last several coaches.
Yeah, they need alignment. I don't know anything inside of Auburn circles, but I would guess that the fact that they were able to get Golish over Durkin when Summerall fell through due to Kiffin not going to Florida, I assume means they unified around a candidate. Could be wrong, but I would assume that's the case.
Yeah. And speaking of Summerall to Florida, I could give that like a minus. Like, we'll wait and see how that turns out. I know like some people in Florida are just sick and tired of Scott Strickland and the way he's handling Florida. They're kind of like, okay, you bungled this Lane Kiffin experiment. We want you gone. But a lot of people are just kind of saying, not so fast, not so fast. Let's give the new head coach a shot. He's definitely going to be better than Napier, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, Napier was an utter disaster and did not know how to manage a game properly, did not know how to call plays. One thing Napier did know how to do was recruit and then at times develop that talent, more so defensively than offensively. So I don't know. I think the only reason I'm skeptical of it, the only reason is because they didn't get their preferred candidate. And they also are stuck with playing Georgia every year. Now, I forget what the permanent 3 rivalries of every SEC team is, but I would imagine, you got LSU for Florida and you have Georgia. And I don't know which the other one is. I know it's not Tennessee.
Well, it's actually Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky for the annual
Really? It's not LSU?
Nope.
Oh, wow. Well, that kind of changes things. Because now you instead of having a game where you're going to be at a talent disadvantage, you're at a game. It's a game where you have a massive talent edge. That probably averages like a 3/4 or 4/5 of a win extra every season, I would guess, like in terms of a swing. Maybe not that big, but pretty close. I mean, LSU this year was better than Florida. They were a little bit better last year, and Kiffin is probably going to have, like, I imagine LSU will their margin over Florida next year will be bigger than it was this year or last year, because you have that program reset, and because Kiffin will do better in the portal and have more money to work with than Summerall.
Oh, he will. He will for sure. Let me see. So I talk about Auburn, talk about Florida, talk about LSU. Oh, Arkansas. I'm giving that a C minus. Ryan Silver. I mean, his record against really good teams when he was coaching at Memphis are not good. I'm getting a Chad Morris vibe from this, honestly. I'm not liking where things are going for Arkansas, but just don't assume that you're going to have the good old days like you were in the Southwest Conference. You've been in the SEC since 1992, and you could brag about how you had the Texas market, but you got Texas A&M, Texas and Oklahoma getting a chunk of the Texas recruits, and LSU getting the Houston leftovers as well. I mean, it's not looking good for Arkansas. You may as well just be happy being a 6-6, 7-5 team at this point.
Well, are they actually committed to football is probably the other question.
Yeah, it could be that they were basically on autopilot, just thinking we just got to bring a guy at this point.
That's kind of what I think that would be. I mean, Silverfield has been at Memphis for a while. He's just been okay, for lack of a better term. And I mean, there's Arkansas, in theory, with the resources they could put towards football, and the fact that as a better program, they have better standing than, say, Kentucky, they could have hired Will Stein, or they could have went after Brian Hartline, or they could have went after Glenn Schumann, and they didn't. And those guys are probably so much more likely to become great coaches. Like they just are. Like G5 is lower level FBS. And kind of, I don't know. There's just like with Signetti, and then with DeBoer, and even with Lance Leipold. Though Leipold this year finished 5-7, and that's disappointing, but that may have been due to some other things.
True.
We've had this recent track record of coaches who win at very low levels, quickly ascend, and they just continue to have success. Like, they're just winners. And I mean, you're having this with, like, even Bob Chesney. Like, Chesney's now the head coach at UCLA. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if that'll work, but I'm pretty sure that they'll have kind of the success they did under Chip Kelly in the long run, where they'll flirt with 8 wins, maybe 9 wins if the schedule's really easy. And I just think that if you're Arkansas, you should, like, find a winner at the lower levels, and Silverfield's not that, or you should have taken a risk on a really ace coordinator. And instead, it kind of feels like they settled for a local guy who, yeah, it really does feel like they settled.
Yeah. It's just like that's kind of where they're at this point. And we'll wait and see how this goes for Arkansas, but just not liking it. But as for Auburn, looks really good. And Florida, I know you talked about just a little while ago that it looks like they settled for the guy that they have because they realized they weren't getting Kiffin. But maybe this could work out for them, kind of like how USC settled for Pete Carroll in 2000 when they realized they weren't going to get the guy they wanted. He was like their sixth choice. And we saw how that turned out. It was magic all over the place from 2002 to 2008 for the Trojans. So maybe something like that could happen for Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Florida in the right hands can win titles and compete for titles. Their biggest problem is they it the hype that surrounded Napier made it feel like people view them as if they're LSU, and they're not.
No.
They're not. I mean, their most successful era was with a maverick in Urban Meyer, who was a pioneer and who won 2 national titles because he ran an offense that people really didn't see, combined with that level of Southern talent. And then Saban came in and pushed him out, and they haven't had much success since. They've been to a few SEC title games. Mullen won them some New Year's Six bowls, but they've never gotten close. And they're not a blue blood. And Florida, while talent rich, is recruited by everyone. And Florida, from a state high school perspective, does not care about football in the way that Georgia does and the way that Texas does. And so I just, my concern with like Summerall, for example, is they need to understand that they're not LSU and they're not Georgia, and they're kind of in the middle of the pack of the SEC right now, like A&M, Texas, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee. Like, those are decidedly better right now. They've recruited better or similar, and they've won more. And Auburn has potential. So depending on where they are, they could be ahead of Florida. Like not now, but maybe in the future. And they have been in the past. And Ole Miss has won a heck of a lot more than Florida has recently. So they're not the cream of the crop in the SEC. Like Florida saying they are is like, I guess the closest comparison to that would be I can't even say maybe Nebraska. Like one of Nebraska, Wisconsin, or Washington saying that about the Big Ten. Not quite as extreme because in the Big Ten, there's a pretty big drop off from the top teams, even program wise. The SEC is more of more of an escalator. It's more of a slope and not this steep drop off. They just need to give him time and rally around him, and yeah, and then I think they'll be okay.
Oh, agreed. That's all it takes. It takes time. It takes time to create a winner. And, LSU will wait and see how it works out with Kiffin, but
I mean, I think it'll work from a wins and losses angle. I don't think you'll see dramatically inept defense or offense with Kiffin, especially offense. But their goal is to win a title. They have the uber high expectations that even a lot of teams who've had more success than them recently don't have. Like LSU probably has higher, well, I'd have to think about that. They have higher expectations than a lot of blue bloods or teams that have won more games than they have recently or fielded better teams. And with Kiffin, I don't know. Like we just don't know if he is going to win a title there or not. And if he does, then his tenure will be a success. If he does not, then it's at best a push. At worst, it's an absolute failure.
true. That is true. We'll definitely see what happens. We'll talk a little bit more about Lane Kiffin in just a little bit, but first, Sam, who's the guy you go to for college football predictions, good buddy.
Who's the guy I go to?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of different people. Most of the people I go to are actually not channels. They're
Oh,
people I talk to who I trust,
there you go.
who I've like connected with.
Nice.
Other things I go to are analytics. So points per play margin, points per play. Game on Paper is a wonderful resource for different analytics. Also like to look at FPI. I know FPI is something that's always hated on, but it's a pretty good resource this late in the year, I would say.
Well, I bet there's one guy you go to for top-notch predictions, and it's the guy you had on college football with Sam earlier this year over the summer. And that's the man himself, Mark Rogers. Oh yeah. And we got a
Oh, nothing.
That's all right. And we've got a little message from the doppelganger of Mark Rogers, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the voice of college football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the voice of college football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
There you go. And that's why you go to Mark Rogers, Steve Dace from the Michigan Podcast, Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm, Matt Zemek from USC Primetime Live, Trojans Wire, and College Wire, and Steve Merrill for that under-the-radar pick of the week, especially for the month of December, where Christmas time is near, ladies and gentlemen. All righty, so Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss in the situation that it could put Ole Miss in. Now, it's a long ways to Tuesday night, tomorrow night, of course, and I want to see what you think about this, Sam. Does Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss hurt the playoff seeding for Ole Miss or no?
Oh, yeah.
How bad?
Yeah. Well, if players start leaving and coaches leave, then they'll be left out. And it sucks and it's horrible, but under the current construction, then they should be left out. Like if the players start leaving, because at that point, like, yeah, you're not going to put together a team. If players stay and the staff mostly remains intact, and it's like it, there's a team there. I would then say probably they get a home game, but maybe it's the 8-9 game, or maybe it doesn't impact their seating at all. I mean, it's so tricky. If it were just Kiffin leaving and no one else left until the end of it, I don't think that impacts things. But the idea that he's taking staffers with him, or could be, and he's probably recruiting against that roster, means some crazy stuff can happen for sure.
Yeah, and so far we've seen Charlie Weiss Jr. leave with Lane Kiffin because he got scared of Kiffin, I guess, or or he actually really likes Lane. But also, there's that 30-day portal rule for the players where if you want to leave, now's the good time. And so far, we've not seen any of the players of the current roster leave at this moment.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But if they are, then like you said, that can knock Ole Miss out of the playoffs, possibly.
It could. It could knock them out for sure. But I think you really needed Mississippi State to win if that was going to be the case, and they got destroyed. So that alone with the 11-1, it's really a shame too, because while this team isn't as talented as last year's team, like last year's team could have won it all if they got in. I don't think this year's team can. They were better coached this year than last year, and I think they could have been fun to watch. And I mean, maybe they can pull something together if they somehow are able to get a competent play caller in. But I don't know. Like that's going to be really tough now that your OC and head coach are out.
Oh man, it's just nuts on what's just happening, and like some of the players at Ole Miss. I mean, they literally were confronting Kiffin on about taking the staffers to LSU with them. Like that was just nuts. And like Marty Smith, now that's a hero for the day right there. I mean, he's sitting there waiting it out for an announcement. He's like, I just want to go home, but I'm gonna sit like a statue for a little bit.
Yeah.
Man, that was just so nuts. But looking at the rankings as of right now, so I mean, we know A&M is gonna be jotted down to at least a 7 because they're lost to Texas, right? And just like looking at Oklahoma, they're obviously going to move up. We'll wait and see if Ole Miss is still in the top 10 or if they're going to be at that 9 spot. It doesn't feel like that they're going to have that home field advantage or be at 7 or 8. It feels like they're going to go down a few pegs.
Yeah. I think you put it perfectly there. I don't think they'll get the 5. I don't think they'll get the 6. I'm pretty sure 7 or 8, which would track with their resume. They don't have a significant non-conference win. And while they did beat Oklahoma, which is good, they didn't beat Georgia. So, yeah.
I mean, they smacked Tulane off the face of the earth in week 4. I mean, like that's like their best non-conference win. But once again, you can't really flex that. Oh, you beat Tulane. I mean, even though Tulane's playing for the American Athletic Conference title game, like you're gonna have to really pull for Tulane to win.
Yeah, and same thing with Miami. Like Miami destroyed USF, but no one cares, and I kind of get that. Like, why would you care to a certain degree? I guess so.
It's
That's
just
that.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be insane on what happens. I mean, like Texas Tech's not going down from their spot. I mean, I
No.
think we're seeing Georgia at 3, Texas Tech's at 4, Oregon's at 5, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama. It's anyone's guess between those 3 on whose number sits, but Ole Miss is not at that 7 spot for sure.
Oh no. Not at all.
No, it's just a disaster for the Rebels. It's not what they needed for sure. It was not what they needed.
It's not, but a comforting thing can be that the past 3 years were good and we're also kind of a historical aberration. So unless Pete Golding is really a guy, all good things sadly have to come to an end. And there could be some of that here.
Can you imagine if Pete Golding did lead Ole Miss to a natty run in spite of what's happening? Like that would be like a documentary for the ages, like on SEC Storied, on 30 for 30. Like you even get like the Netflix treatment if that were to happen.
That would be that would that would be more unbelievable than Indiana going 16-0. Which a lot of people couldn't process happening.
As they say, truth is stranger than fiction,
Yes. Oh, it often is. No one, I mean, even your wildest college football fiction story would never have had Indiana going 12-0. And yet here they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because it's like, Indiana going 12-0 and, Ole Miss. Like, if Ole Miss was going on a run to the Natty or going on a run to the semifinals at the very least, I mean, it all depends on who they play. But that would be wild. I want to see that happen so bad now, especially for those guys that have dealt with the fallout of this Lane Kiffin debacle.
Yeah.
Man. Alrighty. So now we move on to Texas and Vanderbilt and whether they've got a case to make for the playoffs. Now, after seconds after the victory by the Texas Longhorns, you saw Sarkisian just lobbying for Texas. Like, it's not fair we're left out. It's not fair we're left out. And there's one media person for Texas blaming the likelihood of Texas being left out due to having Ohio State, which that has nothing to do with that.
It's all to do with losing to Florida. That's
exactly why. It's insane. I mean, good grief! Like a 4-8 Florida team, you didn't lose to Tim Tebow, Urban Meyer, and Steve Spurrier, Danny Warfel all in one. Like, good grief! Right? I get it. You have great wins over Vandy. You have a great win over Oklahoma. You've got a great win over Texas A&M. I mean, you really stepped it up, but you shouldn't have lost to Florida in the first place. It's just bad right there. Now, what would Texas need to happen in order to make playoffs? Because it's looking like it's not likely to happen, which it doesn't seem very likely. But BYU is playing on Saturday in the Big 12 title game. Miami and Utah are not playing this week. I mean, Michigan's obviously knocked out at a 15th spot, so bye-bye to Michigan. It looks to me that 13th, that 12th, 14th spot's going to be wild. We're in for a wild ride on this spot. And, Tulane's the 24th team of the nation, but they would realistically get that last spot in if Selection Sunday was to come calling.
I think Texas is out at this point.
Yeah.
And I also think Vanderbilt is out. I think, so Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, they're in. And those are the only Big Ten teams that will be in. And all of them will get home playoff games or buys or some combination. In the Big 12, I think Texas Tech is in no matter what, barring something crazy happening. They're so dominant, and they kind of excuse the ASU injury due to the backup QB situation. In the SEC, Georgia is in no matter what. Alabama is in no matter what. because you're not punishing not the conference championship game loss.
No.
Texas A&M is in no matter what. Ole Miss is probably in no matter what, but probably. We don't know that for sure. The ACC champion is getting in. So let's just say that's Duke for argument's sake. And the G5's getting in. So there's your 10. And let me just look up the rankings to make sure that I'm not.
You said Texas A&M, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss. I don't think
Oklahoma. I forgot about Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma's in. Yeah, Isaiah Satanga's been like a turning point for them this season.
He has. Their offense is pretty bad. But that final spot will come down to BYU, Miami, and Notre Dame is what that final spot comes down to. Ooh. It will be those three teams. Maybe depending on if like Ole Miss's roster completely falls off the face of the earth, you put Ole Miss there too. And I don't know, but Miami beat Pittsburgh very badly. They closed in with Notre Dame last week in the rankings. I'm kind of getting the feeling that they might put Miami in ahead of Notre Dame. Kind of getting that
head to head, and I know like there's other factors besides head to head, but still though it's gonna be quite a lobbying session about Miami and Notre Dame. It's quite a session, and the fact is, like Vanderbilt, they're just kind of going, well, what about us? And Daryl Givens, 3786, is giving an anchors down. Well, we give an anchors down a roll. Well, I give a roll tide and an anchors down right here on SEC at the Voice College Football. But everybody's welcome to come on in on SEC at the Voice College Football, bringing that magic. But yeah, Vanderbilt, man, like they don't really their wins. Like I'm going ahead and looking at them. Like South Carolina got worse, LSU got worse, Missouri got worse, Tennessee, Auburn, Kentucky. I mean, they don't really have that many quality wins, unfortunately, and I feel like that's the downfall for them.
Yeah. Vanderbilt's a good story, but in the same way that Indiana last year, if they go 10-2, they don't get in with that schedule, and also with the reputation. It's the same thing here with Vandy. Like Indiana, if Indiana went 11-1 this year, they actually like could have still made it to Indy and even gotten the first round bye. And if they missed, they would have gotten a home playoff game because of how the schedule set up. They had a big win and they legitimized themselves by going back to back and having successful seasons back to back. This is Vandy's first good team in eons from a win-loss power ratings angle. So that combined with a schedule that doesn't give them any key wins means that it's going to be very hard. I mean, at this point, I think they're decidedly, they needed like Miami to lose to Pitt, or they needed Notre Dame to get upset, or Alabama to lose to Auburn. Oh, yeah. They needed stuff to go their way. Same with Texas. And nothing just went their way. Like all the favorites for for how chaotic this season has been in the past 2 weeks, your favorites overwhelmingly won. And now you're not even going to have a 9-3 team in the playoffs, which is actually something preseason that I predicted that you wouldn't see a 3-loss team in unless it was a conference title game participant because of how the schedules work. And also because while talent is closer now than it's ever been, the hard schedules can often beat down on these teams if they're not at the top. And if a team is at the top to begin with, a tough schedule is rarely gonna incur more than 2 losses on them because they still have a huge talent edge.
Well, Daryl Givens is asking us to compare Notre Dame's and Vandy's schedule one by one. Well, let's go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and do that, and then let's see. Yeah, 2 losses to Miami and Texas A&M. You win against Purdue. I mean, Purdue's terrible. Arkansas, terrible. Boise State, I think they're in the Mount West title game. Let me check. And yeah, they're playing Cousin Eddie and the UNLV Rebels. And they had a good win against USC. I mean, USC's their best win. Pitt's their second best win. And you can't brag about Stanford, Syracuse. Navy's looking better than Pitt. But that loss from week 1 is going to haunt Notre Dame. That's going to haunt them. And we'll go ahead and get out Vandy. Charleston Southern, they dominated them. They beat Virginia Tech in Plattsburgh, which nobody does that, but still, though, and the Hokies, they didn't have a good season this year. South Carolina, they got worse as the season went on. LSU got worse. Missouri got worse. Auburn is Auburn. Kentucky, I mean, they smacked them off face of the earth, but that Tennessee win, that was a huge one right there. I mean, you beat them in Knoxville. But I'm afraid that Notre Dame is going to be ahead of Vandy. That's what I feel like it's going to be, Daryl. I am sorry to say that.
They will be, even though Vanderbilt has a superior strength of record. And the reasoning behind that, again, is they haven't earned their dues, which, whatever, even though their strength of schedule is way tougher. And because Notre Dame is insanely high in power ratings, because Vanderbilt uses the slowest tempo in football, and Notre Dame does not do that. Notre Dame also has more talent, so that allows them to more easily blow out opponents, and that also is something the committee definitely looks at. Think of last year with Indiana. Only reason Indiana's viewed this highly this year is because they are so dominant in metrics that it would be a crime to refute how good they are. Vanderbilt, while very good in metrics, is more like Indiana last year, where they have strengths and they're obviously good, but they're not a national title contender.
Oh, yeah. I want to see if 2026 be a better year for Vandy next year, but we'll definitely wait and see. But it's like, we didn't think Indiana could top this season.
It'll depend on a variety of things for sure. But I've gained respect for their staff and for their entire program, so I imagine I'd be probably more bullish on them next year than a lot of people would be.
Oh yeah, I mean, Vanderbilt's going up and up. That there's a locked on Vandy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, and there is somewhere there's a Vanderbilt Voice College Football channel. Nobody's hosting that yet, but we could definitely wait and see what happens. So it would be fun to see all that. But as for the cases of Texas Vanderbilt for the playoffs, it looks very likely that they're not in. But we've seen stranger things happen from the committee. I mean, at least it's not like the days of the BCS. Good grief. Somebody was getting screwed over every time. But we will definitely wait and see how things turn out. And lastly, to end the show, we've got the preview of the SEC title game.
Oh, this is the one I'm the most excited for.
There you go. That's why we saved the best for last, good buddy. The Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs for a rematch. What are the things that you're looking forward to from this game exactly, Sam?
I want to see if Kalen DeBoer outcoaches Kirby Smart again for the third time in a row.
Yeah, it's like Georgia's kryptonite is basically Alabama. Basically, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, although I think really what it is Saban was a better game manager than Smart because he was the best to ever do it. And DeBoer, while overall, I don't know if he's a better game manager than Smart, his resume and his track record in top 5 games is insane. Like that guy knows how to win football games. He's a winner too. So I think more than anything, it's the fact that against Alabama, Smart does not have an insane talent edge like he does against most other teams. And DeBoer, I mean, what does DeBoer like to do? DeBoer likes to pass the ball, have an NFL QB, have good offensive linemen, and epic receivers. And that's how you beat the Saban defense. That's how you do it. It's not like it's not like those 4-2-5 defenses where how you beat them is you usually run on them, or you run and then you pass after opening them up. With the Kirby Smart defense, you got to be able to throw it deep and protect your quarterback. And Alabama's been able to do that with Milroe, and they're able to do that now even more so with Simpson. And I think that plays into DeBoer's hands. And he's also independent of that. Like, he's undefeated against Dan Lanning, Steve Sarkisian, and Kirby Smart. He holds a 7-0 record against them.
That's why I'm like hoping to see Alabama play Oregon in the playoffs, because I know how Kalen DeBoer will do against Oregon.
Yeah, especially since Oregon in all of those seasons had a talent edge and a noticeable, like, outside of maybe 2023, because that Washington team, it didn't have a high BCR, but they had a lot of NFL players on it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely wait and see. But, just kind of like looking at both teams, what would be the keys to victory for Georgia and the keys to victory for Alabama from your eyes?
The key for Georgia to win is to make sure to convert on 3rd and 4th down, which, I mean, that's a key for any victory, but I think especially it's important because the way their offense works. Some offenses can have a horrific 3rd down conversion percentage, or just a bad one, because horrific, you usually always lose, but they could have a mediocre one, but they could also put together a drive where they never have to face a 3rd down. And they have enough of those with good defense to win. That's not what Georgia is. Georgia's a very methodical offense. And against Alabama, they were, I think, 2 of 8 on 3rd down. So they need to stay on schedule. They need to convert their downs. And there will be key 4th downs in this game for both teams. There will be, because their defenses don't do an amazing enough job at sacking the quarterback and creating negative plays. But their defenses also aren't bad enough to allow constant drives where the opponent never has to think about 3rd or 4th down. The key for Georgia is staying on schedule, I think, and trying to have trying to help the defense have the best game of the season that it's had. because it's improved, but it's been a pretty bad Kirby Smart defense. And the key for Alabama to win is opening up the ground game, because you know you can pass on Georgia. And if you can show the improvements in the ground game that you did against Auburn, but against Georgia, then I don't think Georgia's defense is stopping you at all. And you'll just march down the field every drive. And eventually, even if Georgia has a really good day offensively, they'll have to punt or they'll turn it over, and the game will get out of hand.
Yeah, I mean, because like Alabama won't be having Jam Miller and Kevin Riley due to injuries, so they're going to have to rely on Ackland Deer, Drake Washington, Daniel Hill. So they're going to have to make sure they can rely on those three guys to run the ball on Saturday afternoon. And just looking at like the players to watch for Alabama, obviously it's Ty Simpson, Jeremy Bernard, and unfortunately they don't have Josh Cuevas because Josh Cuevas is hurt. So he's
that's
out.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, he's obviously out, but Lottie Brooks is definitely a guy to look out for. Jeremy Bernard's a guy to look out for. Isaiah Horton, because Horton hears the Tide, kind of like Horton hears who. So there we go. And, just looking at the Bulldogs, on offense as well, the guys to look for: Gunnar Stockton, Nate Frazier, Zachariah Branch, Colby Young, London Humphreys. Just kind of like get those guys going and you're good to go. And, for defense, the guys to look for are Ellis Robinson IV, CJ Allen from Georgia, and also just looking at Raylan Wilson, KJ Bolden, Chris Cole, Dalen Everett. Those are the guys to look for. And for Alabama, it's Bray Hubbard for the defense guys for Bama's Bray Hubbard, Justin Jefferson, who's moving on up, finally getting a piece of the pie, Deontay Lawson, and Nikhil Hill Green, Keon Sav, Yahtzee Pierre, LT Overton, Dijon Lee. Those are all those guys you look out for on defense for each of the teams.
Agreed. I think the most important player here is for Alabama. I think it's Simpson, because the offense runs through him, and then I would probably go Bray Hubbard on defense. You just with Georgia's rushing game and the fact that they have receivers this year, tackling is a premium. Last year, you could probably get away with not being very fundamentally sound and beating them because they themselves are very inconsistent. For Georgia, most important player is, how do I put it? Most important player is probably center Drew Bobo, I would say, like against that really strong front, making sure they can consistently run. It's critical that Branch is able to be at his best because he's going against the best secondary in football or something that's very close to it. And I think lastly on defense, it's probably Chris Cole or Christian Miller, like making sure you can get pressure on the QB up the middle. You could also try to get around Caden Proctor, but I don't think Georgia's very good at D end. Tackle and linebacker seems like their strength.
Oh, agreed. Now that we've got like the players to watch for, the keys to victory, and basically what to watch for from Alabama, Georgia, what's your score prediction for the 2025 SEC title game?
I really don't have a score prediction, but I do think that Alabama wins. I was on Georgia earlier in the like earlier this morning, and then I talked with a good friend of the channel and did some research, and I just came away thinking, yeah, Alabama's a similar team with matchup edges and very good matchup edges. Matchup edges so good where even if Georgia is the better team, Alabama should be favored. And I do think Georgia is the better team, but I think Alabama matches up incredibly well with them.
Well, for right now, I'll kind of wait on my prediction for Alabama, Georgia. Spoiler alert, I'm leaning towards a Bama win. that was coming, of course, but we've got it all right here on SEC at the Voice of College Football, and that was the video clip conclusion of the SEC title preview with Samuel Recker from College Football with Sam, all right here on SEC at the Voice of College Football. Well, Sam, before we head on out here for the night, what magic are you cooking up on College Football with Sam, good buddy?
Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have lives with not previews because we just did our previews for championship week a few hours ago. But we will have some more in-depth previews and topics about the games and a lot of different team-specific videos. So some takeaways from the game that more so relate to like what Ohio State's done this year, what Michigan's done, grading the season, like, and same thing with some other teams and other rivalry games. It's going to be really fun and really exciting.
Oh, man. So there you go. So tell your friends, your family, and the cashiers of post about the magic that Sam is creating on College Football with Sam on YouTube. All right there on his handle, College Football with Sam. And give him a follow @/Twitter on CFB with Sam. And that's not all. He's got a Discord group, and it's a lot of fun. I'm in the Discord group, and you should be in it too, ladies and gentlemen, because he's got magic all over the place. He's like a college football magician, ladies and gentlemen.
Why, thank you.
Well, you're welcome, man. I say what I mean, good buddy. I say what I mean. And, of course, you can check me out on Jackson Johnson 979, where I've got numerous episodes of the Jacksonian coming up, and including last week where I was joined by Steve Hellwagon of Buttnuts 247 and Patrick Murphy of Buttnuts 247 discussing the Ohio State Buckeyes and against Michigan and much, much more. And for more updates, what I've got going on SEC at the Voice of College Football, Alabama at the Voice of College Football, the Jacksonian, and Jats Sport College Football on Locked On West Virginia Mountaineer Paul. And once, twice a week calls on the Pine Bulb Show. Check me out on Jats VOCFB on @/Twitter and on Instagram. There's Jats Johnson 543908. And with that being said, we wish you all to like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell to SEC at the Voice of College Football so you never miss another video whatsoever. And we will be seeing y'all soon. We will be seeing you Wednesday night. Well, Andrew Miller, Tucker Harlan, and Josh Mahler will see you Wednesday night as they'll be joined by some guests on SEC Primetime Live. And we will be seeing y'all soon. Good night, everybody.